What up, folks? Dude, that was a good one. I usually am like, my voice is getting shaky, but I'm back, baby. How are you doing, Max? You are muted, but welcome to the Mikey G and Web3 podcast. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing fine. What a great and strong voice in the morning for you, Mikey.
Yeah, listen, I told you I get so excited to do this. We talk about this a lot on the podcast. Like, are you in your zone? I'm in my zone, baby. When I sit on this chair, I am in my zone. My Twitter is not working on my freaking computer, though. It's just giving me a bunch of like, it just says untitled and it's not working. I'm very annoyed. So as far as copy and pasting the link, not gonna work right now, but I'll get it to you. If you can see the link on my Twitter live, though, that's the one to retweet. And you can think about it. If not, we'll look at Twitter a little bit later. Mess around with that while I do the actual like introductions. You know, just going to take a minute or two to talk about what's going on with me. So Mikey G again recovered. This is a massive, monumental. It's been a rough month and change. I got my account got hacked. Close family members unfortunately passed away due to cancer, and it was just really rough. It was a rough month. I had so much momentum from the beginning of the year. You know, I was getting so much traction, and then, you know, as life does, just kicked you down a little bit. But we're back. I'm super excited. 3 podcasts this week. Already had incredible conversation with a guy named Mikey as well yesterday. Top tier AI dev doing some really, really cool things with agents. I cannot wait to be a part of what he's doing. I think people are really not understanding within a year how much AI is just going to change our life, man. It's wild what's happening right now. So that was an incredible conversation. Friday, we have Kevin from Project O. These guys have dumped a ton of money into building the new digital tabletop card game. And I firmly believe that they can compete with Hearthstone and Marvel Snap, which are like the 2 giants, Magic out there. They've done an incredible job. He has been a game developer for 20 plus years. That's going to be an incredible conversation. So if you like card games, if you like video games, Friday's going to be another killer conversation. Also, spaces. I'm starting to show up to as many Treble spaces as possible. Those are on Tuesday at 1:00. Treble is the man. He's another fellow Plague official content creator. And then also I am working with some old friends from 2021, and we're going to cook up our own weekly space, kind of centered around similar things that we're doing here, which is talking to top tier founders and understanding their takes. And we're going to do a lot more on like general Web3 technology AI, opposed to here, we go deep about the personal background, which is my favorite thing to do. So that's me in a nutshell. What's going on next? It really is all about Max. And Max, I cannot wait to have this conversation. Before we hop in, did you get the link to share? Are you still working on that?
I check it out, but it seems it's not working for now. So I need to check back again.
So because I'm interested in the sense that I know we're live. Let me just do it on my cell phone real quick.
Yeah, because it's written untitled at each.
Oh wait.
Yeah,
I don't even think we're live, man. Yeah, I don't even see our. our thing. This did not work.
On Abstract?
Is it even live on Abstract?
I don't know.
Hold on. Yeah, we're live on Abstract. Twitter's not working.
Okay, so Elon is rugging again.
Yeah,
as usual.
Twitter's just straight rugging. So let's do this.
Yeah, maybe send me the Abstract
No, what
live
we're
link.
what we're gonna do. Yeah, there was an error on Twitter. Okay. For some odd reason, it gave me an error going live on Twitter. So we are live now. You should see this stream now. Let me check it out to see if it's there. And I'll put it. You can just take the time. There we go. Ta-da! I don't know. It gave an error. It was live on everything else, but it was not live on Twitter. But now we're live on Twitter. You know what, Twitter people? I'm sorry. You just missed like the most amazing part of the conversation. Just kidding. We just started, so we've got a lot to go through. But we're live now. For some odd reason on my desktop, it's not working. So Max, I'll just give you a moment. Oh, there we go. I'll give you a moment to retweet, and I finally got it to work on my computer. You know, this is one thing I got to bring up as you're retweeting and doing all this stuff. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll get my account hacked or shut down again. But Elon, you're doing a really shitty job with Twitter. And I need you to step up the game. The fact that I was a paying member and got my account hacked and I had to have somebody in my network help me out, atrocious. The fact that Spaces rug constantly, atrocious. The fact that I had to fool around for the last 5 minutes to get my stream to go live, atrocious. So I'm just going to put that out there. You need to figure this platform out because it's insanely frustrating. I honestly can't believe I'm going to say this in public too. I wish my audience was on a different platform, to be honest. But hey, listen, this is where my audience is. So this is where I'm going to be. Doesn't change the fact that I love you all, but now we're ready to go. We're streaming on all platforms. I'm super excited. We got some people watching on Abstract. We got people watching on Twitter now, and this is going to be an amazing conversation. So next part, man, formal introduction for Max. The rest is about Max. We're going to do a little formal introduction here, and then we're going to get into the heart of it. I really like, one thing I appreciate about you, Max, is when I ask for these bullet points, a lot of people just give me like, oh, I worked here, I worked there, I have a skill set in X. Like, you were really human-centered about it, right? You talked about how you traveled to many different places, ended up in Thailand, did Muay Thai championship, but then you also got intimate and, you know, talked about the loss of your father and how that impacted you, how you met your wife and, you know, had your daughter and, you know, being around strong-minded women helping you out in life. And so I love that you shared these intimate details. It already gives me a great insight that we're gonna have an amazing conversation. So I appreciate you sharing that. Then you also gave us, you know, you discovered blockchain through really the technical side, right?
I'm in it for the tech.
Yes, you're in it for the tech. You initiated a startup within blockchain supply chain, right, in 2018. And then 2020 built a DeFi related project, worked as a community manager in a gaming project. And now we're here with Spredict. So thank you. I just deeply appreciate that you gave me those personal details because most people just keep it very, very professional. So thank you for that. And you also have one more thing to share about us because, well, yourself, not us. I like to do like, what is just a more personal insight? And so would love to share what you shared with me before stream because I thought that was an also great insight. So what do you have for us?
Yeah, so basically, that's the way I answer to you
Yeah.
because since I, as you mentioned, I've lost my father quite early, and many different family members, in fact, since I had 5 years old. So from the very beginning of my life, I have been confronted to death about people I loved and I was hanging with. And so since my childhood, I think it's like natural. I'm constantly focusing on having a good life. You know,
Mm,
I'm not chasing money. I'm not
mm,
chasing pride. I'm not chasing vanity metrics and so on and so forth. I don't care about that. My only care is that I am well, and the ones I love are well too. You know,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
of course the money helps for sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that's why that explains my answers. When you ask me some bullet points, naturally I put the most important bullet points I had in mind,
Yeah.
not in terms of professional
Yep.
area, but
Mhm.
the life area, in fact.
Dude, beautiful, and I'm just so grateful that we're being able to met and we're gonna have this conversation. You did share, though, before we get to the formal question of how did you get the seat you're sitting in today, you shared something about, that Asia era profoundly impacting you. Can
Yeah,
you share that? That's the interesting fact that I think is fun to share with the audience. What is that?
yeah. I think that's one of the cornerstone of my life, is that this area of the world connects all the dots for my life. Because after losing my father, 1 year after his loss, I went for the first time in Southeast Asia, in Cambodia, to be precise.
Uh-huh.
And as soon as I put my foot on the Cambodian floor, I felt something inside of me, which was really instinctive, like animal stuff, like
Mhm.
I was belonging to this place
That's
for
so
many time, you
amazing.
know.
That's so amazing. And I think we'll talk about that. No, we'll talk about it right now. I have, like, health made me, and I hope they don't get it too. I hope they get it, that feeling, that kind of primal feeling of, like, you're not even thinking about it, your body is just reacting that, like, "Hey, this is right," or "This is the thing," and you did that by stepping off a plane to, like, I got that through, uh, a crazy mental health crisis, and I got out of it, and I was thinking, like, "Holy crap, this is how I should have felt my whole life, and these are the things that actually matter to me."
Mm.
What I'm getting at is I hope everybody gets that opportunity in their life because I do think it's a magical thing. When you look back at that, um, I'm interested in now reflecting on that feeling. Are you able to kind of put together as to why you think you felt that way? Or do you still just look back at that moment when you stepped off the plane of like, this was just primal and I can't really explain it. It's just the way I felt. What are your thoughts there?
um, I'm someone very pragmatic.
Mm,
I like to intellectualize a
yeah.
lot of things, you know,
Uh-huh.
usually. At the same time, I'm someone who is really instinctive, so I can feel stuff inside of me. I can't explain them, but I can't feel it is right or it is wrong, you know. And
Mhm.
so I can behave uh, according to that feeling, you know.
Right. Right.
Uh, I'm not uh, believing in any religion, but since I'm very young, I feel like we are not living only one life. You know, there
Oh, yeah.
we are kind of following a path,
Yeah.
different path, which goes through different lives.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm. Yeah, and
And
that's just the concept of spirituality, right? So,
exactly. And the fun fact, but we will be able to talk more about it later, is that my wife is an oracle. So she's an oracle, a spiritual oracle, So she's feeling stuff. It is from a family, from ancest-
ancestors.
ancestors, she's from French Guiana, so at the north of Brazil, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
So there are a lot of mystical and spiritual
yeah.
feelings and believings there.
Yeah, through generations of our family, which is so cool, and I don't, I don't have any experience. Like, I was born in white suburbia America, and I've had a very typical, what a US upbringing would be.
Mhm.
Um, but that stuff fascinates me. So, dude, this is awesome because we usually, we're usually to the famous Mikey G Web3 question at this point, but you've already shared so much. So let's keep the conversation going. But I'm gonna reset so people that are listening to this understand the true format of the podcast, and that is I ask one question, and it is, Max, how did you get to the seat you're sitting in today? Please give me episode 1, 2, and 3. Episode 1 is going to be your childhood, your vivid memories. Um, you obviously experienced loss that you already shared with us. Like, how did these moments at a young age really shape why you think you are the person you are today, right? And so that's what I'm interested in episode 1. Episode 2, schooling. Did you go straight into entrepreneurship? Did you not go to school? What did that look like? But here, remember, I'm really interested in skills gained, but more importantly, the failures and the insights. Like, I think pulling these insights from your life and sharing them with the world honestly makes the world a better place.
Mhm.
It really does, right? And so when you share those, you're not only making our conversation interesting, but you could be helping somebody else that listens to this down the line. So that's what I'm interested in episode 2. And then obviously episode 3 is going to be Web3, what you're doing with Spredict, and what the next 3 to 6 months look like. So that's
Yeah.
it, my man. Let's start at episode 1, anywhere you want in the childhood, and we'll go from there, brother.
Okay. No problem. So yeah, as far as I can remember, and that's basically most of the moments I remember as a child. It was times we were spending with my brother and my father fishing, because
Mm,
my father used to fish a lot.
yeah. Yeah.
So, but by the way, I am from a mid-class French family,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
nothing fancy.
Yeah.
My mother was a teacher in
Mhm.
elementary school,
Yeah.
and my father was an engineer in military aviation. You know,
Nice.
and so my father always have been really pragmatic and really wise in the sense he was really introvert. In fact, that's really weird because since I'm very young, I'm really extrovert.
Mhm.
I love to. Uh, I was hyperactive when I was young. I
Mhm.
was doing sports every day. Every time playing with the neighbors. When there was Roland Garros. The French Open of tennis.
Mhm.
We were going into the street with I don't know the word in English. I mean, it's tray. We were drawing,
Mhm.
lines of
Mhm.
tennis court on the
Yeah, yeah,
street,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
then we were playing tennis.
Yeah, nice.
Then there was football, so we were playing football. Then NBA, I had my NBA period, so I
Oh,
was
nice.
playing a lot to
Yeah.
basketball, and yeah, it was really really that turning into spending uh, very nice moments with friends, with my dad when he had time, because he was really packed up with his professional life, because he at the I mean, it will be in episode 2, but
no, it's okay. You can go. You can go wherever your mind goes. It's totally cool.
Yeah, because actually until I was 33 years old and got back to school to learn the theory behind all the practice I was doing at my job back in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
I learned by calling his former boss what he was really doing, and I realized why I was following this professional path, because in fact I was doing exactly the same as he has done, like 30 or 40 years.
That's incredible. So what was he doing?
So basically, he was working at Dassault Aviation, so the French military aviation company, and he has created the procurement department in the southwest France, because he has created it from scratch, in fact. And I started when I moved with my wife on the new city we live right now.
Yeah.
Back in 2011, I started to work into aviation procurement, But I didn't even know at that time that my father worked in that same sector for decades,
See, and it's crazy how some of these things align, and you don't know inherently. What I'm interested in, you obviously your father impacted you. Do you remember, or even your mom, right? Like, I'm always interested in what were those mantras do you think you took from him? Is it as simple as like be kind, be respectful? Was integrity part of it? Like, what do you think you took away from these moments as you're growing?
One thing, one sentence. My father constantly repeated me this sentence, and I use it every time I do something, whether it's for me or professionally or anything, or in my entrepreneur journey. He told me constantly, before to act, think about the most straight way to get your goal, the smartest and the easiest way to go there, because it's better you take some time before to rush into the things, but to smartly have an idea where you want to go, where the final line is, before to start to work on it.
Yeah, dude, that's a beautiful insight, because I think especially this day and age, I see far often more than not, and I'd love your thoughts on this, is a lot of times the solution is pretty simple, but there's so much information and so much stuff going on. We make things way more confusing than they need to be. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I totally agree, and we can agree, I think, that it's the main pain point in Web3 right now.
Yeah.
It's that there are a ton of smart guys, who are doing smart stuff, smart protocols, and so on and so forth, like, DeFi stuff and so on. But at the end, the mass adoption, as we badly want it, everyone in Web3 wants it, for as far as I remember from my beginning in Web3 in 2016, we talk about mass adoption because we want it,
Right.
And these things will only happen the day that this ecosystem is simple for a 5 years old child,
Yeah.
Other than that, you can't have mass adoption if it's too complicated.
Right.
I understand that people want to show their skills as a developer or as a marketer or anything else, but the real thing, I think, in my humble opinion, is that to get mass adoption, we need really simple products that people can interact frictionless in a matter of seconds without even noticing they are interacting with smart contracts.
Yes, and we will talk about how you're trying to do that with Spredict. And you also, I think the other thing too, though, to add on to that, and give me 1 second, I need to shut my door because my dog is going nuts.
No problem. It's all good. I won't dance in the meantime to make the audience.
Here.
I can do that.
One thing I want to layer on there too is, I don't think anybody's made it fun yet, right? Like there's fun. There's fun in collecting for sure, but in what I'm getting at is, and what you're trying to do with Spredict is how I interpret it is, you're creating something that people do anyways, but the back end is built with blockchain. So when you go to your site or your entity, you just feel like you're going to a website, right? You're interacting with a UI and an interface that you already know. And I think that's what's important about and why we haven't figured this out yet, because people just don't understand how to make that user experience seamless. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, totally. We spent really a ton of time on it. I personally had to spend months to design something, even if I'm not a designer at all. It was awful, the first drawings and stuff. But since the very first second I thought about Spredict, I saw the result in my head. So I had the idea and I saw the result. But the result can be 10 years after the idea. I hope it will be before, of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, I always have seeking the simplicity, because complexity is inside my head. I'm always thinking, overthinking everything.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm waking up in the middle of the night. I need to write, or I need to read, or I need to listen a podcast or something, because my brain is constantly working.
Yeah.
So as I don't want to impose that horrible feeling to people, I try, and with my team we try to make the product as simple as we can, because that is how the fun is. If I remember my childhood to bring back there, so I bit more older than 40 years old, and the first computer I managing to play with was a Commodore 64.
Nice.
So old one. And
I'm your age, man. I'm even a couple years older. I feel like we're old.
You can remember those days. There wasn't like graphism like Call of Duty or stuff like that, but we were spending a ton of time in front of the computer because it was so fun to play Pong, or to play other very simple pixelized.
Remember that game? It was like Tank or something, and that was such a great game. I played
Space Invaders.
All of these things. And there's something I would love your insight on this. There's something to be said about there's just so much information and so many things going on this day and age. What are your thoughts about the benefits that our generation got, in the sense that we grew up in way simpler times, right? We didn't even have a cell phone. We didn't even know what the internet was when we were growing up. I was knocking on my friend's door. And now we're literally talking about, in the next year of our life, AI is fundamentally going to change the way people live. What do you think the benefits of our generation are? And why are you happy that you've been able to live, kind of this twofold life of life before technology, life deep in technology? What are your thoughts there?
I think we are very lucky. I think we are the luckiest generation, to be honest, because just for that, because we know how the world was before the internet, and we see and we can anticipate everything which is about to come, because we can understand the new generation, how they feel about being born inside of the technology. I mean, inside of a full digital world, you know. And I think at the same time, it's for me, as I see it, I really want to impact the people and the world. I always have been interested in that way since I started in blockchain, you know.
Yeah.
I was spending time in blockchain. First of all, I spent like maybe 1 year, almost 1 year to just learn, you know. So I was just learning, because I was really looking at this from the technical perspective, not the financial one, because at this time I didn't know anything about economics and investing and stuff, you know. I was even not considering investing and so on and so forth.
Right.
And once I started to dig into crypto, so the more financial world of the Web3, I was spending my time on the forums and Telegram chats, because at that time I was navigating into Tron ecosystem, you know. And there was a lot of scams and a lot of scammers and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not a coder at all, you know, but I'm logical guy, and I can understand solidity code, you know. So I can sniff out when something is wrong, or at least smell bad, you know.
Yeah.
And so I was spending my time to warn people, say, be careful with that one, because it seems that the smart contract is not correct, or
A little
at
bit
least
shady,
is
right?
hidden some stuff and shady stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm proud that I could save not a ton of people, you know, but maybe dozen of people, you know. And I was always thinking that if everyone is doing that, then we will reach the mass adoption by default, because, you know, it will reflect on how many people are in the space right now, you know, instead of fighting to dump on each other and stuff, you know.
Yeah. So what you said though is it's really interesting, and you said it in your own way. But I hear this from a lot of people our age and our generation that have been on this show that are founders, and you said two really impactful things. First thing you said is, because we were born before the internet, we saw the .com, we saw the evolution of the smartphone. Our pattern recognition, I think, is it's not superior, but it's more thorough in the sense that we've already seen a couple of these iterations, and we're going through it right now, right? Like the reason why me and you are here is like, this is I think this is our generation's true chance to take advantage of a tech revolution. Like I was like, yeah, I could have, well, I don't know, what was I, 20 when .com happened, right? But like now I'm fully tenured in my career. I understand how things are going on. Like this is happening right now. And these pattern cycles seem to start popping up every 7 to 10 years at this point, and they'll probably get smaller and smaller as tech continues to increase. So you said that. You said something, you said it like pattern recognition. But the second thing that you said, which was there at the end, which I think is really important, is we had the time, because things were moving a little bit slower, to just figure out how things work, right? Like the younger generations, they were just handed an iPhone and they touched a button and everything worked. So the deeper thought about like I want to open this thing up. What is the code behind it on why this works the way it is? And you said it in your own way of saying, I wanted to understand the smart contracts to make sure I wasn't getting scammed, right? There's a lot of people that are didn't go through our iterations that are just like, I expect this to work. I trust everything. Right. And that is, I think, two major advantages that you said in your own way. So thank you so much for sharing that. What I want to do is kind of, believe it or not, we've been talking for over a half hour already. Beautiful, beautiful conversation. I would love to start transitioning into episode 2. But before we do that, we talked a lot about I love the insight about like figuring out the easiest, simplest way to move forward. Don't make things confusing. That was a beautiful insight from your father. Do you have any other one that you would like to share when you're thinking and reflecting back on this time in your life? And if not, that's totally cool. We'll kind of just start morphing into episode 2.
Just no, because in fact, my parents divorced. I was like 10 years old, and from that time, it changed everything inside of me.
Yeah.
And I changed. I mean, until 10 years old, I was really, explosive, dynamic.
Yeah.
From that time, I kept this dynamism, but it was things were different, and changed me deeply.
Yeah.
It happened some stuff to me, which forced me to protect myself, from the outside,
Yeah.
and I needed to trust only myself,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for a long time, I had to trust only myself, and once he passed away, so I was like 18 years old, just 18 years old.
Wow.
He passed away 1 month after my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And 1 month after he passed away, I was getting my driving license.
Mm-hmm.
And within 3 months after having my driving license, I braked two of my cars.
Wow.
Like the second times, I almost passed below a truck. So it was like, I was at this to be dead.
Yeah. And do you think that was like you're just still trying to wrap your head around like what is happening in your life, right? And you're just are just being rebellious in a sense. Like what was happening there, you think?
Yeah, in my head at that time, I never driven fast since that time. I'm like a grandpa. I mean, not a grandpa, but I'm doing. I'm being careful when I'm driving. But for sure, it's during like 7 years. It was really, 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 really complicated.
Yeah.
And I mourn his loss for 7 years.
Wow.
And that makes the transition with episode 2, because as I mentioned, for me, episode 2 won't be only about skills and teaching and stuff, but milestones, kind of important milestones and challenges in my life I've been through, and this one was the biggest one so far, and it was the loss of my father. So during 7 years, in fact, I waste my time. Was drinking, smoking, hanging around, playing poker, stuff like that. I mean, playing poker is entertaining and it's cool, but not when you do it through addiction.
Yes, exactly.
So it was really complicated, and in fact, my kind of my redemption, or as you want to call it, was being traveling in Thailand. So basically, at some time, I watched a movie over an history of a French guy making bad stuff in France, and being traveling in Thailand after being in prison, because he met a guy in prison and so on and so forth, and becoming a champion over there. So yeah, I was feeling like, I had that feeling back when I first came to Cambodia in 2002.
Yeah.
And I was feeling that I needed to go there again,
Yeah.
So I went to Thailand for 6 months, and I lived in a Muay Thai camp. So then my life was completely changed and challenged, because I was coming from smoking weed, drinking alcohol, being no one and doing nothing in my life, to train twice a day, 6 days a week, 6 hours a day, for 6 months, So it's like if I had trained in France for 6 years, in fact, because one month in Thailand is equivalent, more or less, in terms of what you learn and technique you can achieve, that what you will learn in a Western country in 1 year, more or less.
That's amazing. So I need to jump in here, because you said so many things, and that I just need to dive a little bit deeper. The first thing that you said, and it's just crazy. And this is why I just want to reiterate, I absolutely love what I do, because it's just another point to everybody that listens or watching right now. We all bleed red blood. We're all the same people, no matter where we come from. And my example is this. It profoundly impacted me when you said your parents got divorced and you internalized it and you dealt with it, because I went through the same exact thing, right? And you dealt with it by it completely changing your personality and trying not to deal with it. And I dealt with it the same way, except it didn't change my personality. It just made me ramp up my enthusiasm. But what I was really doing was taking that hurt and just putting it really deep down inside, right? So I could forget about it. So I just wanted to bring that up I think this message to reiterate is when something deeply, profoundly impacts you, which is a very big change in your life, like in our example, parents getting divorced. When you're young, you just can't think about it. And if you don't have the support around you to properly deal with that, it can end badly. And in our different instances, you almost died in a car crash. I had a mental health crisis decades later, right? So I think it's very important to just revisit that fact. And if anybody is listening to this, just talk to somebody, right? Or try to figure out how to start dealing with it. And sometimes it's impossible because you're just not in the right frame of mind. But I just wanted to point that out. Do you have anything to add to that sentiment? Because that's how I feel about it. And when you said that, I was like, I'm talking to a guy that was born in France, that lives in Cambodia, and we're literally thinking the same things. I'm in San Diego, across the world. And this is what all of this is about, right? I think we're just the same human beings going through this same crazy thing called life, right? What are your thoughts? Do you have any thoughts to expand on my thoughts, or does it all make sense to you?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And I'm sure and convinced that I am right now a father for more than 12 years. What saved me back in those time, back in that's first challenge in my life at 10 years old, and then the second one at 18, is that I grew up in not a strict but very clear education. I mean, at home, I had the boundaries were really well drawn.
Right. There's very clear boundaries drawn out, right?
Exactly. So I knew I could go through the boundaries, but not a lot of time, you know, otherwise it's not good for me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what I think that's what makes the total difference in terms of culture between West and East, or outside West, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that I experienced when I was there. And since I am a father, I experience it every day with my daughter and my wife. The way that currently in the new generation, and the thought goes to our generation because of the education we give to our children, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the main element as a parent, is to give clear education and clear boundaries to our children, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You heard too much in our society that you should leave the kid by himself, does his own choices and so on and so forth. That's okay, but at some point, you know, they are just child, you know,
Yeah.
children. So you as a parent, it's your duty to show him the path, you know,
Yeah.
as my father showed me the path by making teach me how to fish, how to be patient, because I was
Mm-hmm.
very impatient.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that I was going to fishing every weekend or almost was building step by step my patience. And now I am very patient,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because of that.
Yeah. And
It's very important. And sorry, but when I was traveling to Cambodia, to Thailand, and other countries in the third world, culturally is very different, you know.
yeah.
I mean, there are some you know, kids who are bad educated and do some bad stuff, but in the majority, you know, there is a lot more family aspect, like respect with elders and stuff like this, you know. And it's like in the global mentality, you know.
Yep.
It's not a specificity to certain people, you know. And I think my vision is in the Western societies, we tend to be too permissive with children, and that's not something good for them. I mean, that's not a service to be given to them, you know. It's the total opposite, because they are becoming, you know, disrespectful and so on and so forth, you know. I don't say everyone is like this, but the tendency, the trend, I mean, as I see it, the trend is to become this, and I don't like this at all.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I just think that the other thing I just want to say is, when you go through these moments in life, what we're doing here, I think, is very, very important. Obviously, when you're in the throes of it, like, you can't be reflective, but any moments you have throughout your life to be reflective about these really profound, impactful moments, it is such a healing, like, great thing that you can do for yourself. Hence why it's one of the many reasons why I love this podcast and I do what I do. The one thing that you did say that I think we can kind of like transition back to Muay Thai is this, in essence, you're saying loose discipline, right? Like, you can't be completely like, hey, kids, go do whatever you want to do. There has to be some boundaries and sets of rules around it, right? And you as a parent, that's your responsibility to teach. And I think that setting a framework, right, that they loosely can base off, that is good, right? Like, their framework is good, their boundaries are good, and showing them unconditional love are like the only things you can do as a parent, and the rest is what it is, right? Yeah, they have to figure that out. But the reason why I bring up the discipline framework is because I want to jump back to Muay Thai, and what I'm really interested in this part of the conversation is, the last thing that you said was, one month is like a year in the Western world because you're learning from the greats. When you're going through this, I would love, like, if you can shed light on what you think it looked like, the impact it made on you to learn from the best, right? Like, you're at the best place in the world, you're one of the best camps in the world for the specific thing that you're doing. How important or impactful was that experience?
It changed everything back at that time because I was literally having zero self-confidence, having no goal at all in my life, was unable to take a clear decision except to go there to learn. So that was my best decision back in that time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just only the discipline you learn from the sports related perspective. This is great because obviously you learn with best people. You have a trainer just for you. The whole philosophy behind it is completely aligned with the guy I am and I was, or I was willing to become at that time. Is because, for example, I know it's in France it's like this. I don't know in US, maybe it's different, but I think in France it's like this. When you go to train in a Muay Thai gym in France, usually when you do a fake fight, just to train and to
Like
show that you, like most of the time, the trainees are trying to prove a point, to show they are stronger than you, so they are eating you badly strong, And I was disappointed a lot before to go there when I was trying to do boxing and French boxing and so on. Because of that, because people are trying every time to prove a point, to prove they are the stronger of the gym and so on and so forth. There, it's the complete opposite. The guy who is the most soft and show you the stuff is the strongest of the camp. You know what I mean?
Oh man,
it's unbelievable because they are telling you every time that if you want to kick someone, so up onto a ring and do a fight, not in a training, because training is supposed to be to learn and to progress, not to be injured. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the culture and the mentality is totally aligned with what I was, because in this sense, it was giving me back step by step self-confidence as long as I was progressing in my skills, because I was even not able to kick the heavy bag, at first, because you have to turn on your feet and it goes from the middle of your body, and so it's at first it's really complicated to get the right movement of your body. But once you have that, you can feel the difference because your kicks are kicking stronger, in the bag.
Yeah, one of the things that you said, though, I think is really important, and I don't like, I just came to this. No one really taught me this, but I came to this mind frame and mindset, and what you exactly said is, it's amazing the amount of times if you concentrate or think to yourself, take it easy and concentrate more on form and doing things correctly, the outcome is drastically better than you, like, in essence. And I'll use my analogy of, when I go to the gym, a lot of times we'll do like hip throws with a medicine ball against the wall, right? And of course, you just want to throw this thing and smash it against the wall as hard as you can. When you actively think about like hitting something hard or throwing it hard, I actually get so much more force if I concentrate on centering, calming down, turning the hips, and letting the ball kind of almost feel like it's just falling out of my hand, right? That creates exponentially more force. And that's such a great analogy, like for life as well, right? Like if you just concentrate on breathing, settling down, and specifically honing on the things that matter, the output is just so much greater. And that's what I heard you say. Do you agree, or do you have anything to expand on that?
Yeah, I could totally agree with that. And those people are really great in Thailand because that's one thing that fascinates me with that part of the world, is that usually, and most of them in the Muay Thai industry, people, when they look at you, they can quickly, in like maybe 5 minutes, see inside you. I mean, if you are a good person or a bad person.
Wow.
And considering that, they will act differently. If they feel you are good people, they will act very gently and try to be welcoming and stuff, and so on and so forth. If they feel you are a bad person, then maybe they will look to give you a lesson, and a hard lesson, which you will remember for a long time.
Right.
And one thing that can testify on it and will answer your
just
question.
Real quick, I don't know if you're like dragging your feet or something, but I hear a bunch of scratching.
No, it's my wife, who is doing some housework.
Totally cool. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't like something you were dragging your feet or anything.
Sorry for the
that's totally cool. It's totally cool. We can take it out post edit. Don't worry about it.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, what was really great is that at first I was just going to Thailand to learn Muay Thai, just as a hobby, to understand and to make sports and stuff. But then when you are inside it and you eat and you live Muay Thai six days per week, at some point you are feeling like you want more, And my trainer knew that I was scaring of fighting, I was willing to fight, but I was scaring at the same time. So for 2 or 3 weeks, he said to me, look, don't worry, we will put in front of you like a Thai fighter who has 0 fight like you, which will be his first fight as well, and don't worry. So I was like, I was feeling that I was progressing good, and every trainer told me that, I had the level to fight. That was okay. So okay. I go. On the D-Day, on the way to the ring, to open the ring, my legs were like jelly, I was like walking very slow, very scary. And I saw the face of my opponent. He had scars everywhere around the eyes, from taking elbows in the face, So I was like, fuck me, this guy is not his first fight,
No, it's not at all.
And at the end of the fight, my trainer was smiling and said, you did good. He had more than 200 fights. Okay.
Oh my God. That's
just another example. It's crazy because, it shows that you don't have to have full confidence and be fully confident of yourself to do things. Maybe to take risk is okay. as long as your risks are calculated. There it was calculated because my trainer, so the professional, thought that I had the skills to go on the ring. If I was in danger by up in the ring, he would have never told me to go onto the ring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a great thing and a great analogy for everything in life, in fact. You don't have to be ready 100% to do things, because you will never be 100% of time ready for doing things.
Yeah. But I think the part that layers on that I think a lot of social media and everything that gets you pinged at now is, I believe in what you said. And I think what you also inherently were learning from Muay Thai, which is like, I now want to go to this camp because I love everything that you're telling me. It's the calculated risk, right? I think people are like, oh, if I just take a risk and quit it all and do something I'm passionate about, it's going to work out. And it's like, no, that's probably the stupidest thing that you can do. But what you did was you were prepping for a long, long time for that fight, which was a risk in the sense that this was a really tenured Muay Thai fighter that you went up against, but you prepped for a long, long time. And so that is a great analogy for, I think, and this is my opinion, of how you want to start a business or dip your toes in an endeavor that you think you're passionate about, right? And this is honing a skill set for a very long time and then giving it a shot. And you can do this more than ever in this day and age with the remote work and the digital nomad lives that we can live, to do this as a side hustle before you say, I'm burning everything down and I'm just going to do this because this is the only way I'm going to be successful. Thoughts on that? Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely, it totally makes sense, and it goes to what happened next. So coming back from Thailand to France, I was still didn't know what I was going to do in my life, and then magically next year I met my wife, my current wife. So basically we moved on in another city from where I was living and she was living also. Where it was like everything we knew so far, we put that away and going to focus on our new life, our new project or life together, kind of things. And then from there I was really focusing on finding a way to enjoy to work and to build my family, my new family, on the ways that I can be proud of, and just to be happy, because in fact with my wife we never have looking to be filthy rich, but rather than that, just financially free, So as long as we can choose our destiny, it's okay, doesn't matter what. And that's when I started to get interested in crypto back in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And what you mentioned by testing the water by testing with your toes or with your
it's a great way to
fingers.
say it. With your toes, right?
Yeah. So I did that because before to build Spredict, so I built the first project back in I started back in 2017, and I aborted it. I finished it in 2019, and it was about blockchain supply chain. So I was working in aviation, and I was looking a way to improve the current processes and all the supply chain as we know it until now, and because they didn't make a lot of progress since then. And I was looking to develop a protocol which could track every part and every documentation to avoid counterfeit parts and provide good behavior in the world supply chain. So including all the suppliers, all the manufacturers, all the OEMs, original equipment manufacturers, and so on and so forth. I created a virtuous circle that great suppliers and actors join, because they will add their value and they will earn from the total value generated by the world protocol. So it was something really big, but I think I was a bit in advance, because currently, as I'm a freelance consultant for some aviation actors, and I'm working with a big one implementing this kind of protocol. They are just starting where I started 7 years ago, and I had a total clear picture in my head of what I wanted,
Yeah.
So you will tell me that why you don't go full time into it, because it was in my past, My life has evolved till that period.
Yeah.
And I want to focus on my family and on Web3, because now I'm driven by Web3, because I think that's where most of my value and impact can be done and realized, as when I started, helping people not being scammed. I think that now my value and our product value and our team value is to create something really simple, really fun, which at the same time really innovates in the sector that doesn't innovate at all for decades, because gambling as we know it and sports betting and stuff doesn't evolve at all. What I mean? So that's why all the steps I went through during my blockchain journey.
Yeah, but do you see why we do what we do here? Like, I have this really deep understanding of you as a human being now, and now we're getting to Web3, and so a lot of this stuff that you're saying makes way more sense because I understand you as a human being, and it's always such a beautiful transition to hear you talk about these things, and now we're at Web3. One of the things before we kind of get into Spredict and how this all came about, because for instance, we talked about simplicity and a direct path. Totally makes sense on why you're doing what you're doing with Spredict, right? Because that deeply means something to you, and I think it's the right move. One or two insights from building this blockchain logistic ecosystem and protocol, however you want to define it, that you think like either you got an insight or a failure but really not failure, insight gained from that time that you think you still use today. I'd be interested in that. Like, what was some aha moments or some insights that you think helped you?
It was really painful when I had to stop stop that initiative,
Yeah.
So at that time I was a big failure, because I was feeling bad. Because I deeply thought it was my future, So that was my first failure. Then I did participate to a project, a DeFi project, back in that time in 2020. It was my second failure. So the first failure with my first project into a blockchain supply chain was because I wasn't able to build the right team. I was doing most of the job by myself. I wrote 150, I think, or 120 page white paper on my own, mixing technology aspect, mixing technical aspect from aviation and operational aspect, and so on and so forth, and then the second project I led, so around DeFi, it was like, to vulgarize it, it was like a similar product of what Hyperliquid Liquid is doing, like decentralized, leveraged and limit orders kind of DEX platform,
Yeah.
and this was also a failure because we did have a great community. I did create a good team, but we failed because we hadn't the community. We failed because of that, and because we weren't ready at launch with the product. So basically, people have lose faith in us, in our potential to do great with this project. And
Right.
several months later, we had to close it. So that leads me to the third project, which is Spredict. And so in that way, I don't see those two previous experiences as failures, because each of them teach me something really, really important. That to be successful in Web3, you have to take your time first. No. I know it's super quick and you have to be ready tomorrow for stuff and so on and so forth. It's not like that it works,
That's not how life works. They kind of trick you in Web3 thinking that you have to be quick.
Exactly. If you want to do something over long term, you need to prepare it. So
100%.
to prepare it, you have to add a clear vision, a good team. And by good team, I'm not meaning only via skills, because humans could be very good, but if they are not interacting well between them, and above all in Web3, if they are not having fun working together, it won't work. I mean, it's been like almost 3 years we are working on this with my co-founders, Johan and Fred, and if we weren't that level of communication and having fun together, I would have thrown the towel many times. many times. Yeah. So that's relationship among team is really important to get that unity and get the strength to go through all the challenges you have you are facing every day in Web3. And the third thing is the product, of course. And now I know that it's important to have the product, and then finally the community. And I think that's important. Talking about community, it's the protocol or the network you are launching on or you are operating on, and that leads to abstract. And we will be able to talk about it more.
Awesome. No, beautiful insights. And I'm glad that you came to all of those realizations, because I agree with everything you said. The only thing I think I'd layer on and would love your insight too is one of the things I think from the first startup, it sounded like is I see this a lot with founders. They're so passionate about what they're doing and they just want to build, but they don't take the time to just take their simple MVPs, do research and get user feedback. Right. And so like, because again, you said this way earlier on, there's just a lot of really smart people in this space, but it doesn't matter how brilliant you are if nobody uses your product.
Absolutely.
Or you don't even have, you think you have like perfect example I used recently is everyone's building an IP right now, right? And they're like, well, my product's an IP. And I'm like, no, it's not. Like an IP is the outcome of the whatever you're building, right? It has to be something tangible that people can use, that people want to buy, that people want to be a part of. And so you can't just say I'm building an IP and this is my business. It's like, no, well, you have nothing. You literally have nothing. And so I think that was the other kind of insight I think I saw there. Or any thoughts on that kind of like research and product market fit in the sense of getting this stuff in users' hands? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's very important. We spent like the whole year last year to try out our first MVP.
Yeah.
We made it evolve a lot. We are going to soon release a new version of Formula One prediction categories that we were managing last year.
Nice.
And we will. It's like, I think what is important is building through iterations.
Yeah.
Because you won't ever have a perfect product. You know what I mean? Ever.
Right.
So by building through iteration, you can have a constant feedback from newcomers, from OGs, and so on and so forth, which will help you a lot to shape, to frame your complete product.
Yeah.
And what we are, and that's my logical thinking side, and my overthinking side. What's make a ton, what's take a ton of time is to do the architecture. Because when you are building a product like we are, what matters is smart contract architecture, because all the platform is based on chain, so you can't just fake stuff and data on the front end, because what you see in the front end is what is in the smart contract.
Right.
So to do that, you have to be really careful about the security and above all the scalability. Because if you, and that's where I when I think of every time to my father words, is that if I did start Spredict with my co-founders without having a clear idea and trying to to build the path step by step, keeping this goal inside of my head, we would have come every time in all the direction, and losing and wasting a ton of time, and what make us really strong right now is that we are about, I think, in a few months to finalize this architecture. And what it means simply and clearly is that once we have this architecture set, we can basically open a new sport really quickly, and a new prediction category very quickly,
Right.
So right now we are onto a UFC. Soon we will launch F1. But once we are ready with that, maybe in 3 months we will open crypto price prediction. Mm-hmm. And what it means is that crypto bros, instead of gambling on meme coins or on anything else, will be able to gamble or to predict kind of price movement over a week or over a month, but taking a calculated risk, because they will pay a fixed price as all other players to get their subscription and play into that pool. So basically they can earn big, as there is a lot of players, the price pool is growing, accordingly. And by not increasing their risk, because, for example, all will pay $20 to access for a month, subscription. And so that's the beauty of the system. And that I think that's really, really important, is that when you are building a product in Web3, the most important is to think about the business model, how you will generate revenue. And I have taken the decision to, with my teammate, of course, to focus on the value creation from the product, not based on the hype and the speculation around the token. There will be a token, but it will be an additional benefit. It won't be the main benefit. And I think that's the real game changer, because most of the projects out there are basing their business revenue onto the token. So if people are liking the project and there is a lot of volume on the pair, okay, they earn money. But when we are in the bear market, you don't earn anything, and you have to pay for your fixed charges and so on and so forth. Now, in our business model, if you love NFL, I don't know, maybe you love NFL, you love NBA, either we are in the bear or in the bull, you don't care.
Yeah.
You will still love that sport. So if you love our product, you will still play our product all through the year. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what we are trying to achieve, is that bringing people who are passionate by either sports, even gambling, or who are in crypto and like to predict the next movement of a crypto asset.
Yeah. So let's do this. We've only been talking for an hour and a half. This has been an amazing conversation. I want to reset and kind of, we'll go through kind of elevator pitch of like what actually Spredict is, because I think there's a couple really unique aspects to what you're doing that you just covered, which is great, but want to reset and get very clear on that. Then we'll talk about anything you're currently working on the platform, and then what the next 3 to 6 months looks like. I'll ask you my ending question that I ask every guest. I'll give you my closing comments, and we'll call it a day. How does that sound?
Yeah, that's all good.
No, it's okay. So starting off, the elevator pitch, right? 2 minutes or less, like clearly defined for the audience that's watching right now or will listen in the future. What is Spredict?
Yeah, so basically Spredict is a predictive gaming experience which bring a new kind of prediction experience. Whether you are a fan of sports, crypto enthusiast, or you love the community vibes of gambling and gaming, we cover it. We are building innovative blockchain-based interactive platform, which is fun and rewarding. Also, people who are staying in control how they utilize their funds. So basically, we are building 3 pillars. So first one is player versus player championship-based prediction gaming platform, and we are focusing on the player experience. So rather than the common pick one or pick two or pick team A or team B choices, we are implementing different game modes to elevate strategic thinking and fun within the platform. The second aspect is we create a platform which is free to play which can be in free to play mode. So people can have a ton of fun without any financial risk involved. And if you want to earn prize, so we are building, like we call the predict to earn mode. So it will be based on the monthly or annual subscription access. So you will choose the tier you want to play on and the prediction category you want to play on. And depending on the amount of money you are paying, you will have a monthly access or multiple months access. And you will pay just once and have that access during that period. And all the months, depending on your ranking on the leaderboard, you will be able to earn reward. You have to look at it like poker tournament. So every player in the poker tournament are paying the exact same fee, and at the end of the tournament, they are sharing their share of the prize pool depending on their ranking. So not only that to be good because it's reduce a lot the gambling addiction issue that most of the gambling platform are facing for their users, but also provide a lot of potential rewards and the risk ratio reward, which is really great, because if there is a ton of players and you are among the top ranked players at the end of the month, you can earn big, without to increase your risk because you already pay a fixed fee. And the last but not least aspect is that we are fully on chain, as I mentioned before. So that permit us to be totally transparent, to have an enhanced security, and that all the players can handle their own funds, because it's self-custody. You just pay your fee, and then you handle your funds. We don't touch your funds,
Yeah.
And that's also great for the the odds aspect, because in main gambling platform or sports betting platform, the odds are shady because it's done through a proprietary algorithm. So you never know if the house or the casino it's cheating on you by changing the algorithm at the last time, and so on and so forth. Here there is not this problem because as myriad markets or poly markets, we are using the live odds. So basically that's the players themselves who are making the odds by validating their prediction within the smart contract. So that's the smart contract which is doing the odds. So it's live, and we can't do anything about it.
Love it, man. And I think that the two things that you said that I think are really interesting is, like, one, you can get a group of friends together, have your own contest depending on what's available at the time. I know you're trying to ramp up to as many sports as possible, but two, I'm not a fan of gambling in the sense that it can be highly addictive and it ruins millions of lives, right? It's the same thing as like alcohol. Like, I went down the alcohol road and it just never ends well, right? But you're implementing a fun platform that curbs that behavior in the sense of, like, you have monthly subscriptions. It's not like you can drop $1,000 every day. And these monthly subscriptions are still rewarding in the sense that if you can get enough people, the payouts can still be substantial. Now, the other thing that's interesting and is a to be determined, and I know you're testing this over time, is there a reason this model doesn't exist in the gambling world because it's been tested and it doesn't work? Or have people like yourself just not put enough fun and entertainment into a system like this to attract people to want to be a part of this ecosystem? I don't know what's the answer. And I know you're thinking about these things and building things around that. Any thoughts there?
I think it's because of centralization. And that's why, Web3 is the way, but my ultimate goal is to make it on Web2, because I just don't want to innovate by making this platform a success on Web3, but I want to I don't know the word in English, but to give a kick in the nest of the ants. It's you know what I mean?
Disrupt. You're trying to disrupt the total industry.
Exactly, because I'm sure that there is a ton of money to do, and in a very simple way is that because as you centralized oligopoly, it's very competitive, but only a few have really making a big money because they are buying multiple different casinos and sport books and so on and so forth. So, and that's the way. They are not changing it because it works. They are making a fucking ton of money. They are handling and managing and mastering everything. So they can shit on the algorithm. They don't care. They have a ton of money to pay for the lawyers and stuff. So they don't care. They can do it. Why they would innovate the product? It works. They have all the licenses. With huge teams and huge sports industries. You know what I mean? So they don't need. They have to do just a bit of promotion and so on and so forth, and it works. When you look at stake.com, for example, stake.com, claiming they are into Web3. The only way they are using Web3 is to making you bet in ETH or Bitcoin. That's not what I call Web3.
No.
It's just a Web 2.1, maybe.
Yeah.
You know,
they're just using crypto as a payment form.
Yeah, and during this month of January, they did like 1 billion of volume. That's crazy big for a product which is at the end has nothing more than a Winamax, BetClick, or Bet365 platform. You know, it's nothing new. Yeah. So I think that the answer and the solution will pass only by two aspects: by the community-driven product. So we always think about Spredict like you are with your friends around a beer in front of the TV before NFL or the Super Bowl match, and you just trash talking because you are supporting the one team and your best friend is supporting the other one, and you just trash talk and drink and have fun together. So why you don't spend 1 minute to take your bets on Spredict, and at the end of the game, then you can really trash talk each other because you have earned some points or some perks or some rewards on the platform because you supported your preferred team. That's the first point. The second point is that what I mentioned into the elevator pitch is the gambling addiction issue. Is a big one. Is a really big one. Mm-hmm. And we see the subscription, and that's why we put this business model in place, because when you look at it, the best companies in the world use it. Tesla, Apple, Google, anyone use a subscription. Microsoft use a subscription model. Yeah. Netflix, you want to see that, you have to pay that amount for a month, or you take 12 months, you have a rebate, etc., etc. We wanted exactly the same way to be as inclusive as we can, starting with a tier at $5 a month, for example, like this in Africa, in South America, in Southeast Asia, people can play if they are fans of sport. Yeah. And avoid to be addicted, as I was addicting to poker back in my young adult time period. Yeah. And that you can, instead of sparing $50 per month because you have an extra cash and you don't know what to do, so you put it on your bank account and you lose money over inflation, you know. So you can just use it to have fun, and maybe you will make money, you know, and maybe big money, because if there is 10 people in the pool, okay, you may probably multiply by 3 or 4 your amount invested. But if there are 10,000 or 100,000 people in the pool, you can imagine the prize pool size. You know what I mean? Yep. Yep. And that's exactly our idea from the beginning, to be as inclusive as we can, to be sustainable over the long term for our project and our business, and to be scalable. Because when we will want to attack Web 2, it will be really fast. Huh? We will take our time to go into it, but when we will go big. And trust me, you will heard about us at that time.
Yeah. No, I love it, man. And so let's do this. Unfortunately, I got a meeting coming. I could talk to you for another 40 hours. I think, you know, we'll have many more content sessions together. I really would love to get back on with you and Fred and do kind of like an education tutorial of like, once you're feeling good about the platform, like how does it work? And let's show people how we can gamify and have fun and be with your friends and do some sports betting. It would be awesome too to like get like a little bit of part of the community, get a multi-stream going, watch some games, and we can do it from the Mikey G outlet, and I think we'd have a lot of fun with it. So we definitely need to do that. Next 3 to 6 months on what you're concentrating on with Spredict, and then I'll ask my question and we'll start closing it down.
Yeah, so basically over 3 to 6 months, we are focusing on one, getting funded. So we are currently looking to be granted from different protocols in Web3. And we are focusing on the product really, because as I mentioned, the milestone, the cornerstone of the project is really the architecture. So once we are there, we can really scale faster and easier. So the way that will be with that funds, we can hire the right people we need to grow faster and better. So that will be within the next 3 months. And what we will look for through the 6 months from today is that from 3 to 6 months is that to really build the community base as a user base. So onboarding MikeG community, onboarding the Plague, the Froggy Plague community, because by the way, I'm older since 2021 of frogs, and onboarding as much as community as we want, because all the fun will come through that. Special tournament between community A versus community B, or super tournament like a Champions League of prediction among 10 different communities within Abstract, or within Base ecosystem, or within Chili's ecosystem. We don't care, we are EVM agnostic. So we start to build on Abstract because this protocol aligns perfectly with our vision and what we want to achieve with Spredict, but we can expand to any layer 2 Ethereum based, basically. So I tell you, once we are ready with the product, we can scale fast and big, you know.
Yeah, so, man, it's exciting. And I Fred's already been on the podcast. I love the platform fundamental idea of what you're trying to do, and I just want to be able to continue to help in any way possible when it comes to content and showing off your platform and what you're doing. So, I mean, man, it's been a hour and change, over an hour and a half of just beautiful conversation, deep, meaningful insights. My last question for you is, you've now been part of the MikeG experience. You have listened to my podcast before. How do you feel the experience went? Would love to hear about it compared to Spaces or other podcasts that you might have been on or listened to. Would love to hear how you thought today went.
Well, I wanted to things I never went before with anyone.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Because we have spoke before, we had that call to get to know each other and stuff. But yeah, I feel that the what's the word?
Take your time, man.
Yeah, I don't have it.
Connection, energy.
Yeah, energy. Yeah, the energy. I love your energy, and it's easing the way that I think people can talk with you. That's why it went into many directions, because when I'm launched on Thailand, for example, I can speak with you for 8 hours or 10 hours, because I'm passionate about that.
Yeah.
When it comes to blockchain supply chain, I can talk about this during 10 hours. When it comes to Spredict, I can talk with you during 3 days, because I'm patient.
Yeah.
But what I did at first, in the first minutes and dozens of minutes of this interview, of this podcast, I never have done, because I don't like to speak about myself usually,
Yeah.
And I did it naturally because of the energy you have, and kind of the frame of your podcast. So in that sense, I think it's great, and it's really a good experience for me.
Thanks, man. And that gives me chills, because You just described exactly what I'm going for. You know, like I said in the beginning, love what I do. And I think and we talked a little bit about this. The reason I think you feel the way you feel is because I just genuinely love doing it, and I genuinely mean what I say. And I think another word you were probably going for was genuine, right? Like the genuinity of this atmosphere that we've created. More people need it, right? This I feel like it's just such a dying thing in the today and age where everything's just getting pinged at you. So
Mm,
that deeply means the world to me because that's exactly what I'm trying to deliver. And you felt that.
mm.
And when I'm looking back, or sorry, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, just that I think that's what it's needed right now.
Yeah.
Is to, in fact, I think we have already spent too much time anon or hidden um behind our screen, and that's, I think that one of the first steps to get mass adoption is bringing confidence and trust in the humans behind project A or project B,
Right.
for normies, because
Mhm.
if you talk about technology and stuff, they won't care much, but everybody should care about humans, So
Dude,
I think that's really important what you are doing, and that's really needed.
thank you, man. Yeah, and it's more important than ever than AI is about to take over everybody's life.
Yeah.
And so this is just more, we like yourself, we wrote a, I don't know, 5, 6 page manifesto and boiled it down to me and my co-founder that started the podcast. He's dealing with our real estate side of the business. He's going deep on that, so he's not able to come as much, which is bringing back the lost art of genuine human connection, right? As we get more connected, we're more disconnected than ever before. More anxiety, more depression. Technology has done amazing things, but unfortunately, this has become almost a lost art, right? You're more
Mm.
connected to everybody around the world, but deep, meaningful conversations is what needs to happen, and that's what we did here. And going into my final closing comments, man, is it's funny that you say to me you don't like talking about yourself because and I would just like I would urge you um to, and I do this a lot too, like listen back to this podcast. Continue to learn on how you want to hone that story because this is your first time being that intimate. You did a beautiful job. And I think you possess a skill that not many people have too, and it's relatable to what I do is when you do talk about these things, you come off vulnerable and genuine, right? Like your story about your father, like being able to share that and then generating the insights of like, hey, he taught you like dumb things down, find a simple, not easy path, but a simple, direct path. Don't make things so more confusing. But you did that through a story of loss. Not many people can do that. And so I urge you to continue to hone that story and tell that story because I know 1,000% somebody is going to hear that story, will have lost their father, and will have been like, Max did it, right? And he even went down the path of what I feel like right now, which is frustration and anger. And,
Mm.
he almost died because he was driving his car crazy. And then he found Muay Thai. And even one of the things I didn't get to touch on that I wanted to touch on is just the randomness of life that you end up in Thailand at a Muay Thai fighting um, camp because of a movie, right? Like you're watching this movie and it gives you this spark. And that just it's really hope, man. Hope's another big thing that comes up time and time again in this podcast is because your story is giving people hope. I know somebody's going to listen to this and you fundamentally change your life. So thank you for being intimate. I think you possess a skill that I do too, which is just making people feel that you're genuinely caring and talking about. And I can tell that you're a human being filled with generosity and that you want to genuinely help people out. And which is makes total sense that you took what is usually a pretty toxic industry, well, not usually, is a toxic industry, which is gambling. You know, there's very small elite people at the top making a ton of money preying off very weak people that like have serious life altering addictions. And you're saying, hey, I'm going to fundamentally flip this upside down, bring the fun into it because you're doing gambling a lot of times with friends. And I'm going to cap you at a monthly thing so you can't waste your life away. Right. Now, I guess you technically could if you made 100 accounts. But, you know, these are things that you can't control everything. Right. People are still going to do what they want and they always could just go to a traditional casino. But at the end of the day, thank you for being genuine. We have just built yet another friendship, and I cannot wait to help you out in the future. And just give me a minute or two after I shut the podcast down. We'll talk about next steps. But that's it, man. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for the time that you just gave me. You're insanely busy. That's more valuable than anything anybody can give a human being like us that are balancing a ton of things is time. So I really appreciate you, man.
Thank you, Mikey, for the invitation. It was a great pleasure, and yeah, I warn you that I'm talking a lot. So maybe next time we do a 3 hours podcast as episode 2, you know. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm always up to open a podcast with people like you, because that's people like me. So I love to spend time with people that are alike, not just because we are the same generation, but because we are in the same mindset, you know. And I think it's really important. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to do some stuff on my founder funnel because I heard what Leon Abud said, you know, that is important, and I will look to be as much authentic as I can, and as I go out from my comfort zone, even if I daily get out of my comfort zone on many things. But I think that is important because I will focus that on onboarding as much normies as I can by simplifying education content over blockchain, because I feel like Web3 is really you have a call. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that. Someone's calling.
No worries.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that Web3 space is really a circle nerd or circle jerk industry for now, and that if we want to onboard normies and stuff, we have to be very simple in the way we are explaining, and we are onboarding them in terms of product. So that's why at Spredict we are trying to do our best to simplify everything in terms of onboarding. And yeah, that the message is simple, and that shows them the value, and simply onboard them. So I will try to work on that in the next months, and maybe doing some great stuff as I will moved on in Southeast Asia again. But that's time for good, I hope. With my family, so maybe I build a different way to podcast and to share ideas when I will be there. But definitely interested into collaborating with you, making another podcast if you need, it's necessary. And again, really thankful for your invitation, because it was a really great pleasure and great experience for me.
I appreciate it. So many kind words. It was amazing conversation. And with that being said, people, we love you all. Lots of genuine, authentic, exciting vibes coming from the screen from Max and Mikey G. We'll be back tomorrow with Kevin from Project O. If you're into tabletop gaming, digital gaming, collectibles, going to be a fascinating conversations. We cannot wait to see you next time. Mikey G, and Max